All right, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Rabbi hayiku ya Rabbi jami'an. And today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about something really important. It's going to be really easy. I know you see a lot of Arabic, but don't worry, I will make it easy. I promise. So we're actually going to talk about something called fara'id al-salah. What are fara'id al-salah? So fara'id al-salah simply means they're the obligatory actions in salah. So what does it mean to actually have an obligatory action in salah? It simply means that these things, you cannot make sujood sahu if you miss out on any of them and say, I'll just make it up with sujood sahu. They're actually obligatory to mean they have to be part of your salah. If you miss out on any of them, your salah, you have to literally redo the whole salah. Let's do it again. So when we say these are obligatory actions in salah, that actually means if you miss out on any of them, your whole salah must be repeated. Okay? In other words, you cannot make sujood sahu in order to make the missing or cover the missing gap. You're going to have to remake the whole salah. So sujood sahu does not make up for any of these missing pieces in salah. Got it? Simple. All right. So let's start with what are these things? Let's look at them. We're just going to go first. We're going to read first, let's say the bold words. So right there, first, number one, it's the intention. The second one is the first takbirah. What is the first takbirah? The word takbirah is an abbreviation for Allahu Akbar. That takbirah that you do for the beginning of salah, like when you first start salah, here it is. I'm actually preparing myself for salah. Allahu Akbar. This is actually obligatory. If you forget it, you can't say, oh, I'll just do sujood sahu. You're going to have to redo the whole salah. Even if I did everything in salah, yes, even if you did everything except that Allahu Akbar, you're going to have to redo the whole salah. The question that pops up is many times people are like, I have an issue with OCD and I can't remember. Did I forget? Did I remember? Did I say it? Did I not say it? Remind me to answer that question. So let's look at the things that are obligatory. Number one, it's the intention. Two, takbirat al-ihram, which is Allahu Akbar. Number three is basically standing in the obligatory prayers. So if you are sitting down and you're capable of standing, you're going to have to redo your whole salah. Reading the Fatiha in every single rak'ah. If you don't read the Fatiha in every single rak'ah, that particular rak'ah is actually not valid. And you have to redo your salah if you don't read the Fatiha. So the Fatiha, what is al-Fatiha? Al-Fatiha is the Surah Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All right, that's an easy one. Now the other thing is that to do ruku'. So let's go it like this. So we're talking about standing in salah, that's obligatory. Doing a complete ruku', that's obligatory. Standing from the ruku' is also obligatory. If you don't stand and you do ruku' and then right away you're like, you know what, let's make and take the first exit and go make sujood. Doesn't work like that. You got to stand from the ruku' once you do it. If you don't actually stand from the ruku' and make a complete stand, your ruku', your salah is invalid, or at least that particular rak'ah is invalid. The other part, which is when you make sujood. So what is sujood? Sujood is when you go all the way down and your head is touching the ground. That's sujood. To actually have all the different sides of your sujood actually touching the ground is also obligatory. Rising from the sujood, I'm rising from the sujood to mean making a sitting posture. Getting up and rising from the sujood, you know what, Hamza, you do it. So whenever I talk about one particular thing, I want you to do it. So make sujood, my dear. Hamza, he is making the sujood. Good. So raise yourself from the sujood. This is the rising from the sujood. This rise from the sujood is also obligatory. All right. So in other words, the sitting. Now, the part about tashahhud, the second tashahhud. If you miss out on the second tashahhud purposely, your salah is invalid. But if you forget the second tashahhud, your salah is still valid, but you can make sujood as-sahw at the end. Let's do it again. The second tashahhud, let's say you're 4 rak'ahs. You missed out on the, okay, let me fix that. Not the second tashahhud, but the second rak'ah. There's a in the second rak'ah, there's a tashahhud, right? Now, in the second rak'ah, that tashahhud, in the second rak'ah, that tashahhud, if you deliberately and on purpose, you leave it out, you have to redo your salah. But if you forget the tashahhud in the second rak'ah, you forget, then you can make it up doing sujood as-sahw. Number 2, for the tashahhud, the last tashahhud in the 4th rak'ah or in the second rak'ah for fajr, that is obligatory. So here we go. What does it mean obligatory? You have to do it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. On the right side, doing once is obligatory. The left is sunnah. Got it? The left is sunnah. So this actually just makes the big bullet points and what we're actually going to be talking about now for the details. Okay, so the details in terms of, what was that? Repeat all of them.
When you say Assalamu alaikum on the right side,
On the right side is obligatory, the left side is sunnah.
and what is that? Like if you get
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Finished my salah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Extra point. Got it? Got it? I tried to do it as, you know. There you go. You're a good Muslim if you do the left one. All right. Now let's start with the real serious stuff. Niyyah. What is niyyah? So niyyah basically means you've got the intention to do the salah. So in other words, you're not here making a class or teaching something, but you're actually serious in making your salah, which is actually intention. But intention and having the intention for salah actually includes 2 things. Number 1, that you're actually preparing yourself for the salah. 2, that you're actually doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, you're being sincere. Got it? So you're being sincere. You're being sincere, and
Malik, that's how you sit in to drink your tea, right? When you finish, you clean up the table very nicely, please.
I love that woman. Look at her. I love the accent too. Okay. So to make the intention, you need 2 things. One, that you're actually literally preparing yourself for salah. The second one is that you're actually doing it for the sake of Allah Almighty and not for other sakes. So that would actually mean al-ikhlas. So what is the evidence on that? Well, the evidence is not that you're just doing a good thing. The evidence in general, you've got the ayah in where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. They were only ordered to worship the Lord Almighty in sincerity. What is sincerity anyways? Sincerity actually means you're only doing it for the sake of Allah Almighty and not for the sake of people, not for the sake of payment, not for the sake of looking good and appearing good and appearing classy or whatever it is. You're just doing it for the sake of Allah, not any other worldly advantage. Got it? Not any other worldly advantage, only for the Lord Almighty. You're only doing this just so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would get you Jannah, would get you the reward to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleased over you. That's it. All right. Now, the other thing is the Prophet ﷺ, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, a man named Muhajir Qais. Well, this guy loved this woman. It was a love story. What it was the love story about? Qais. She had this guy who was interested in getting married to her so badly. Qais used to live in Medina. And this guy was actually Muslim. And at the time, everyone was ordered to actually migrate to Medina. Every Muslim was obligated to migrate to Medina. So this guy was migrating to Medina, not because he wanted to join the Muslims, but because he wanted to meet and get married to Qais. So the Prophet ﷺ was asked, does he also get the reward like us? The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. All your actions are actually based on your intention. In other words, what do you mean by that action? وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. In other words, what determines whether you're getting a reward for it or not is not only the action and whether it is good or not. You could give millions and millions to the people in Africa. But the question is, for you to get rewarded for the action that you had done, is did you do it for the sake of Allah? Did you do it for fame? Or did you do it to get credit from people? What advantage did you actually seek and from who? Right? So, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ, then whoever migrates for Allah and His Messenger, then their migration will be rewarded by Allah Almighty. But whoever migrated for anything in this dunya, anything in this life, then in the end, they will actually get the reward, or I guess whatever credit they wanted to seek, they will get it in this life. That's what they seeked. He seeked to get famous. By all means, you're probably going to get famous. Let you fame reward you. Good luck. All right. Now, the question is, do we have to say and utter the niyyah, our intention? So what does that look like? I'm standing right there. نويت أن أصلي أربع ركعات صلاة الظهر حاضر في المسجد الرحيم in Brooklyn Park. Address is 8704. Is that what the address is? No, I was almost, yeah, and the zip code is, no. You don't have to utter anything. Where did this uttering actually come from? This uttering idea actually came from the Shafi'i madhab, by all means, ironically, all right? And they actually said you have to. The reason why I'm mentioning, I usually don't discuss the part about Shafi'is, but because a lot of Somalis are Shafi'is, just wanted to mention that one. All right. So the part about Shafi'i madhab, they said you have to utter the niyyah, and that wasn't necessarily all the Shafi'iyah, but that was a common thing, because at one point people were not focused on their salah, so they thought, hey, let's bring in and where it's actually uttering the intention. All right. But all the other scholars agreed, and they considered that niyyah is only to be in the heart and not necessarily to be uttered, because the niyyah was not mentioned to be uttered by the Prophet ﷺ, and certainly not by the companions themselves. And to actually say you have to utter it is going to bring in more paranoia. What? Paranoia. What is paranoia? Well, paranoia, it happens a lot to a lot of people, and it doesn't mean that it's going to happen to everyone, but it can happen when, let's say, for example, your mom tells you, did you turn off the water in the bathroom? And you're like, and your brain is telling you, you didn't, you forgot. And all of a sudden you can hear the water dripping in your ears. I think I didn't. So you go back and make sure that you close the tap, and you're like, I did. And then your mom just all of a sudden, with her paranoia is getting into you. And she's like, are you sure? When she gives you these eye looks, are you sure? And you could all of a sudden feel that, and you're like, let me just make sure. And you go back to the bathroom and you're like, I am sure. But then she looks back at you and she says, why do I feel you're not saying the truth? And you're like, wallah, I did close it. So what happened? You guys know that feeling, right? How many of you have been through it? Trust me, I have to. You still go through it? You know that your mom's eye look when she gives you this and you're like, oh, I can see it. And then it's like, choose your weapon. What do you want? Fire extinguisher to be thrown at you, or a belt, or maybe shoes, or who knows, probably the tables or the doors, but right? Choose your weapon, right? All right. So that actually paranoia, it can happen, but if it gets too much, where the person is constantly going back and forth, they're not sure whether they made the number of rak'ahs right. They're not sure, did I do 3 or 4? Did I do 2 or 2? Did I do 2 or 3? What did I do? Did I make wudu? Did I actually wash my nose? Did I wash my head? What did I say Allahu Akbar? Once that gets too much, then that person has what is called waswas. Waswas al-qahri, exactly. Good job, Lujain. Which is very equivalent to what is called OCD. When a person has that, it doesn't mean you're going to be sick with this all the rest of your life. It is curable. So Islam's way of, at least when in early situations, okay, I'm not talking about some people actually need medications down the road, but Islam will tell you, wait a minute, you are fine. You are fine. Yes, you did say the takbir. Yes, you did make your wudu. Move on. Don't go back and repeating it over and over again. What if I get thoughts? The thoughts in where the thoughts are coming to me. Maybe you're not a good Muslim. How do you know that everything's right? And you're like, astaghfirullah. You know that feeling?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want you to look at this. Okay. Well, this is the brain right there. Okay. Well, almost. Okay. Now, think of this as, did I actually do this before? Okay. Think of this like this is a light bulb right there, and this is a light bulb right there. When you start getting these thoughts, it's like these light bulbs are broken in your brain and they start going, you know that? All right. Now, that's what it's like, kind of like that, in where your brain is actually making this sound and making this wrong information, but then you are aware of it. Your brain, in your awareness that, no, this is not true. Why did you actually say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah? Because your awareness of the situation, you are aware that this is actually not true. And which is why the Prophet ﷺ, when the man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, "O Prophet of Allah, I get these thoughts that it would be easier for me or for any of us, that even if the sky was to collapse down on earth, it would be easier for us to actually have that happen than actually say the thoughts that we get." And the Prophet ﷺ just said, "You feel that?" And they said, "Yes." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Alhamdulillah alladhi radda kayda ash-shaytani ila al-waswasa." All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he let shaitan's effort be in what? Let's go and do it. Be in this area. In other words, in the areas that he cannot control, but this is still intact. This is completely aware that this is not true, that these ideas are not true. And that's the same thing. So when you look at those waswas apart, if you actually did your niyyah deep on the inside in your heart, that's all that matters. Okay? Don't want you to keep on thinking, what if? You know, shaitan will come to you, whispering to you. This is called waswas. What is al-waswas? Exactly like when the shaitan is coming to tell you things. Maybe, you know, that's why we say, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Read it with me. مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ. What is مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ? No, مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ. So like this, Lujain, shaitan will come to you and tell you, listen, your mom's not watching. She said and asked you to clean your room, why don't you just put everything underneath the bed and you can cover it? No, I know you wouldn't do such a thing. This is shaitan telling you, right? How many people got this? They would hear something just telling them to do evil things. Pinch your sister, hit your brother. You guys get that? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, it comes to me a lot.
Once I hid my clothes under my bed,
Your clothes.
my mom told me I had to clean up.
Mhm. Your mom told you that you had to clean out your clothes, and what did you do?
And then I put some of my clothes under the bed.
You put your clothes on your some of your. So okay, well, yeah, confession. It happens. I hear you. I hear you.
But Sister Aisha, the fact that we الواحد مش تاخدوا الهلوسة, but we still need to focus at least to make sure that we're doing it the right way, because we can say, oh, كما نقولوا we're doing it lightly, we're not focusing, oh, I forgot, and that's it. But it's
So there's a difference. That's a good point, Fadwa. So generally speaking, if you know that no, you didn't do it. If you know that you didn't do it, then no, you have to. And everything is all based on what is called yaqeen. What is yaqeen? Yaqeen is a very important thing because this is actually a basis in Islam. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bishak. You can't depend on doubt. You have to depend on facts, not on doubt. Okay? And the reason why I wanted to bring up that paranoia is, believe me, it's a lot more common than you think. A lot more common than you think, especially with mental illnesses, being rampant and stuff. And that's why I wanted to comment on it, because somebody with this disorder can call me like 20 times and I end up writing on their name OCD, because I would know that, and they'll call you using different phones because they know that you had said their number OCD. It's really hard. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you and your family and everyone from it. It's extremely hard. Extremely hard. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them shifa, ya Rabbi, give us shifa if any of us are going through this. And it's Allahul Musta'an. It's hard. All right, so let's go for the other part, which is right there. We're looking at takbirat al-ihram. So what is takbirat al-ihram? Remember the hadith of al-musi' fi salatu? Al-musi' fi salatu, and where it's a person, the guy that made the salah wrong, and he basically enters the masjid and then does his salah really, really, really quick. And the Prophet ﷺ said, go back and pray. You didn't do your salah. And then he comes back. You guys remember that story?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, when he wanted to teach him how to make salah, he said, إِذَا أَرَدْتَ أَن تُصَلِّي فَكَبِّرْ. He said, if you intend to pray, start with your salah with Allahu Akbar. That's the beginning. Another thing is that Ali ibn Abi Talib, so it wasn't just the story of that guy that made a mistake in his salah, but Ali ibn Abi Talib, he actually said that the Prophet ﷺ said, Muftahu salati tahur, the key that you would start your salah with, in other words, what you begin, and the key to opening your salah is actually purification. What is purification? Purification means to be clean. Clean from what? Clean from major and minor impurity. What is major impurity? Any dirtiness that you have to take a shower with. That's when you get older. Minor impurity. If you go to the bathroom, do a number 1. Number 2, pass gas. All right? That's a minor impurity. You have to make wudu. Or even if you sleep, you have to redo your wudu. Okay, so this is just in general. Then you have to do it. If you don't do it, your salah is invalid. وتحريمها التكبير. What is تحريمها? What makes the salah in a sanctuary position. What is sanctuary? It's like it's holy. Now you're really officially starting salah. Allahu Akbar. Once they said Allahu Akbar, you had officially started your salah. تحريمها التكبير وتحليلها التسليم. What is تحليلها التسليم? In other words, your salah would consider it officially ended when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That is to officially end your salah. Now, another hadith in where the Prophet, the Prophet ﷺ, it was mentioned in a number of hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he would start the salah, he would اعتدل قائما. When he would start, raise his back and actually start with salah standing like that. And he would raise his hands when he's doing takbir. So the raising the hands part, listen to this. For the raising the hands, more than 50 Sahaba narrated that the Prophet ﷺ raised his hands for Takbirat al-Ihram. More than 50. In fact, there is no other sunnah that we know of that was mentioned as many as the narrators that mentioned the sunnah of raising your hands for Takbirat al-Ihram. Got it? So here's a question that you can ask your mom. Mom, what is the sunnah that we had no differences of opinions between scholars on? We had more than 50 Sahaba narrate the story that they had seen the Prophet ﷺ do it, and we had authentic evidence to prove it in all accounts. She's gonna start thinking. The answer is raising your hands for Takbirat al-Ihram, raising the hands. Takbirat al-Ihram itself, Allahu Akbar, that the word itself is obligatory. Raising the hands is a sunnah that all Sahaba had done, had mentioned, had seen the Prophet ﷺ actually doing it. And that's why he said, رَفَعَ يَدَيْهِ ثُمَّ قَالَ Allahu Akbar. How do I raise my hands? Raise my hands where my hands like this. My thumbs are under my earlobes, Allahu Akbar, or equivalent, or at least right in front of my shoulders, Allahu Akbar, right in front of my shoulders. So in other words, my fingers are next to my shoulders and they're facing the Qibla. My palms are facing the Qibla, Allahu Akbar, or Allahu Akbar. So either my thumbs are underneath my earlobes, my hands are making it like this. It's like I'm making, my hands are, just right next to my ears, or they can be down with next to your shoulders. Both are fine, and both there's evidence on it. All right, so that's for Allahu Akbar. That is called Takbirat al-Ihram. If you don't do Takbirat al-Ihram, your salah is invalid. You have to redo the whole salah. Can I make sujood as-sahwi at the end? No. You can't. Your whole salah is invalid. So what else? Al-Qiyam fil Fard. What is Al-Qiyam fil Fard? Standing for the obligatory prayers. So what does it mean to stand for the obligatory prayers? Standing for the obligatory prayers means for the non-obligatory prayers. What is obligatory and non-obligatory? The obligatory prayers are only the 5 prayers. Dhuhr, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Those are the obligatory prayers. Any other prayer other than these 5 prayers is considered a voluntary prayer or nafil. Any other prayer other than these 5 prayers that we pray today is called nafil prayer and a voluntary prayer. Got it? So in any other 5 prayer, other than the 5 prayers, even if you didn't have an excuse, you can pray sitting down. But here's the catch. If you pray sitting down, even if you didn't have an excuse, you will get half the reward. You will get half the reward. But if you sit down during an obligatory prayer, if you sit down during an obligatory prayer, if you had an excuse, that's okay. If you didn't have an excuse, your salah is invalid. You have to redo your salah. Do it again. For the obligatory prayer, the 5 prayers, if you didn't have an excuse to sit down, your salah is invalid and you have to redo it. What is a valid excuse? What is a valid? How much of being sick? What is being sick? Number 1, a valid excuse means that your body or you are feeling that if I stand, either the illness is going to increase or the cure is going to decrease, or if the cure is going to prolong the healing, or the pain is so strong that you're not able to stand and focus on your salah. Do I need a doctor's prescription? Not necessarily. If you feel doctor's prescription, yeah, I need a prescription to make my salah shorter. Wait, you gotta sit on the bed. Let me do an exam for you. Yeah, you can sit down. Here's the prescription. You don't need a doctor's prescription to sit down in your salah. Okay, imagine. Triage, please. Right now, for the pain part, that's left as your responsibility. Do you really feel so much pain that's making you lose focus if you were to stand up? 2, if you couldn't stand up, you can sit down on a chair or probably sit down on the floor. All right. What if even sitting down on the floor is making me sick? I had a broken spine, you guys. I had to stay in bed for 2 months in a row. 2 months in a row, and I could not move. Literally. Even if they needed to move me from side to side, they had to get 4 nurses to be able to move me from side to side. All right? Side to side. It was a broken spine. Side to side. That was 91. Yeah, 91. You see it? Side to side. And by the way, just a funny thing, you guys. I used to wear a brace. This is just on a side to wake you all up. A brace. So they basically had, at the time, it was a brace, and it was filling all my back. Okay, so all my back and all my front, and it was really complete. The brace was very solid, just like that, really, really solid, just like a table. And I would wear it and the straps. So at the time, it was a lot safer than today. We would go outside, go to the park, and come back, and mom was waiting for us. So when we moved to Brooklyn Center, which is the same house that I'm living in right now, some boys come over and they see me playing, and the boy was like, "Oh, so New Kids on the Block." That at the time, New Kids on the Block was actually a famous band, famous music team, whatever. All right. And I said, "My mom told me I can't talk to boys." And he said, "You can't talk to boys?" Who said? Said, "My mom told me I can't talk to boys. It's against my religion. I can't talk to you." And he was like, "Well, it looks like you need some manners on how to deal with people." And he gets a fist and actually punches me right in my stomach. But guess what? I'm wearing a brace that is solid as this. You hit that hard, man, it's going to hit you. And I was wearing a hijab. So he was like, "She's a robot." She's a robot. And then when I go to school, they actually spread the rumors that I was actually a robot hiding all the wires underneath my hijab. Yep. And that actually protected me from all the bullying, because anytime that somebody wants to bully me, I'll play the robot role and I'll go gadget hands, go gadget. Aysha was is preparing to hit hard, and they'll run away. That's it. I'm safe. It protected me, literally protected me. I was safe, you guys, for those years because they thought I was a robot. It just needed once.
You should find that guy and tell him you are not being a robot.
I get, by the way, ironically, I actually looked for where that guy is, and he's actually a priest. His name is Dwight Buckner. He's a priest in a church nearby. I didn't believe in God, exactly. He's a priest in a church in Brooklyn Park. And I was like, what happened to that guy? His name is Dwight Buckner. Subhanallah. All right, let's continue. Standing in fard, like I said, if you cannot actually, if you can't sit down, you can only lie back on your back, then you can lie down on your back. What if you are lying down on your back? Are you able to make a head gesture to make the ruku' and sujood? You can. Can you do farther? If you're able to do farther, and if you're able to get a little bit of your back up and do something like that, probably if they would put pillows behind you, you can do that as well if you can. But if you cannot even lift your back, just like myself, I couldn't lift my back, nothing whatsoever. All right, to the point that after those 2 months, I wasn't even able to walk. I had to learn how to re-walk. All right, yeah, I wasn't able to walk. I had to learn how to walk again, just like a baby. All right, now, then in that situation, you can use your eyelids. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. Allahu Akbar. You would use your eyelids. A very important scholar, he was actually, well, not a scholar, but da'iyah, right? Who was actually praying like that for a couple years. His name was Ahmed Didat. He was praying like that for a couple years, just with the eyelids. All right. Ya Allah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ya Rabbi, give him a cure. Well, we'll get to the part about if you are, good question. So what if you're actually in your car? Okay. Can you actually pray in your car sitting down for the fard? The answer is no. You have to get outside of your car in order to perform the complete salah, unless there's fear that maybe if you get out of your salah, you will get some dangerous animals attacking you. You're in the safari for some reason, okay? Or probably if you get out of your salah, you might have, I don't know, white supremacists because you're driving down south, or you're driving north, or who knows where, and you know that there were, these KKK guys that might actually, probably attack you if you were to jump on probably even get out of your car in a gas station and start praying there. You felt that it wasn't too safe. And that in that situation, you can pray sitting down. But generally in your car, or even on any, let's call it on any transportation thing, you cannot pray a fard, an obligatory prayer, but you need to stand. What about praying? So unless there's fear, or unless there's illness, that's a different story. Are you with me? You're confused. Okay, good. But if it's a non-obligatory prayer, you can pray sitting down while you're in your car. So what if my car was driving north and the Qibla was west? Don't worry about the Qibla. And wherever your car is driving towards, since this is a non-obligatory prayer, that's okay. That's okay, since it's a non-obligatory prayer. Number two, what if I'm on the plane? You can ask the stewardess people to actually get you the direction. If we're talking about the big planes, usually international planes, there's a place to pray there is a place, well, it's not to pray, but there is a place where you can actually, near between the lavatory and the kitchens, that you can actually find a little small area. You can pray in that. And of course, it's just 2 rak'ahs. If it's for dhuhr or asr, it's 2 rak'ahs. So it shouldn't take you long, okay? For the smaller planes, they're usually very small that you can't actually pray. So in that situation, not pray sitting down, but stand up even in your seat and actually do what you're able to do, not sitting down. Again, many people think that, oh, since I'm on the plane, I can pray sitting down. You gotta stand up if you're able to stand up. Unless you are so tall, you're, I don't know, like, so tall, all of a sudden, what is that guy, that really tall basketball player? Forgot what his name was, but so tall. All right. What was his name? Don't remember. So that very tall person who's not even able to stand up really tall. And in that situation, you can actually sit down, but generally stand up if you're able to stand up. All right, so this is just a couple things. So what is the evidence? Let's see, what is the evidence? The Prophet ﷺ, if you were to sit down while you're praying for for no necessarily reason, for a non-obligatory prayer, for a voluntary prayer, then in that situation, Abdullah ibn Umar, he actually said that the Prophet ﷺ said, Salatul rajuli qa'idan nisf as-salah. So if you didn't have a reason for a non-obligatory prayer, then in that situation, you would get half the reward. Got it? Half the reward. Let's say you came into the masjid and you didn't really have a good reason, but you wanted to just pray sitting down. You would get half the reward. All right. So unless you are sick, or in that situation, for probably because you're on a journey and the situation happens, let's go for the other part. Reading the Fatiha in every single rak'ah. What's a rak'ah? A rak'ah is a complete, standing with a ruku', with the sujood. That's a whole rak'ah. So for every single rak'ah, whether that is an obligatory prayer, whether this is a non-obligatory prayer, it's actually obligatory to read the Fatiha. Reading the Fatiha at least, all right, reading the Fatiha at least is something that every Muslim must learn. Every Muslim must learn to read it with the correct pronunciation. So not Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. No, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Not Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. But what if this person only knew how to read it that way? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. That's all they knew how to do. Read it that way. Work on perfection, but their salah is not valid. If that's all they know how to do, their salah, inshallah, is valid. Go ahead, my dear.
So before we came to this masjid, the masjid we used to go, a sheikh was talking about reading the Fatiha in Salah, and he said that you don't have to read the whole surah. You can only read a Fatiha in the
So for reading the Fatiha is obligatory. Reading an extra, whether a couple ayat or surah, another surah after the Fatiha, is actually a sunnah in the first and second rak'ahs. Okay, it's a sunnah. So what does a sunnah mean? A sunnah means you get extra credit. It was done by the Prophet ﷺ. So to read more than the Fatiha is a sunnah in the first and second rak'ahs. Got it? It's a sunnah. But the Fatiha is obligatory. What does obligatory mean? You have to do it. Okay. Now, the other thing, let's look at this hadith. So Ubadah ibn Samit actually said that the Prophet ﷺ actually said, لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. There's no valid prayer for anyone that didn't read the Fatiha in their salah. Who's that? Ubadah ibn Samit. And what does that actually mean? In other words, reading the Fatiha is obligatory in salah. If you don't read it, then your salah is canceled. You have to redo the whole salah. Since we actually got to Ubadah ibn Samit, I'm going to tell you a few things about Ubadah ibn Samit. Ubadah ibn Samit was actually from Al-Khazraj. Who are Al-Wat? Who's Al-Khazraj? And what is Al-Khazraj? So basically in Medina, there were two major tribes. One was called Al-Aws. The second was called Al-Khazraj. And they used to be, before Islam, just at constant war with each other. Okay? Constant war with each other. That's right there. Ubadah ibn Samit, when the Prophet ﷺ, listen up, you guys. So these Aus and these Khazraj, okay? When the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina, when the you know what? Let me get a map and actually show you what we're talking about right there, right? That'll be good, right? Let's do it. So we're gonna get right there, and we're gonna show you a little map so you could see it. Okay, so Ubadah ibn Samit, oops, what am I doing? I'm going to show you a map. Okay, here we go. So what I want you guys to see is this little map right there, because it kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about. So here we go. You had the Sahaba, the Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca at the time. Let's get an idea of where and what we're talking about, okay? Let's do it right there. And I want you guys to see it. So the Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca, and then he had to actually, so here we go, he was in Mecca right there, and he had to migrate and walk on foot all the way to Medina. All the way to Medina. So that's almost 430 kilometers, give or take. All right, 430 kilometers. So we're looking at a long time. Right now, they might actually drive it in 8 hours driving, right in the middle of the desert. Now, what happened is that before the Prophet ﷺ had migrated to Medina, listen to this, you guys, this is really beautiful story. Before the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina, he actually had sent one very young man. His name was Mus'ab ibn Umair. Mus'ab ibn Umair. He sent Mus'ab ibn Umair, and he was only 16 years old almost. Mus'ab ibn Umair was to go to Medina. Not only that, he had a mission. He was going to be the person to teach and tell people about Islam and come back the following year with all the Muslims, or at least Muslims, to actually have a big conversation with the Prophet ﷺ. Ubadah ibn Samit, there were only 72 people that actually came. Ubadah ibn Samit, who's the guy that narrated this, was actually part of those 72 people. There were only 2 women within the group. Ubadah ibn Samit was actually one of them. Ubadah ibn Samit was also that Sahabi that was actually a Sahabi that was buried in Palestine, you guys. I'm going to show you Ubadah ibn Samit is actually buried in Palestine, and I used to actually see his grave right there. So this is actually the grave of Ubadah ibn Samit right at the door of the place that I used to actually go to school in, and right at the door of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, right at the door of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Now, Ubadah ibn Samit was actually a qadi as well. He even learned the Quran, memorized the Quran, and he was even the one to teach the Quran to the group called Ahl al-Sufa, the homeless Sahaba that were in the masjid. The other thing is that he actually had someone be his friend. You know who that was? That was Ibn Marthad al-Ghanawi. Ibn who? Marthad al-Ghanawi. So this al-Ghanawi, he had a girlfriend. He what? He had a girlfriend. I know. She's like, are you serious? Yeah. But that was before Islam. Okay, let's talk about him. That was before Islam, not while he was Muslim. Okay, so he goes to Mecca, then his girlfriend meets him in the middle of the way. And she says, let's have fun together. And he says, Islam had said that this is haram. Sorry, I can't be with you anymore. And she says, oh, come on, let's go. And he just said, no. So she makes a plot in order to actually harm him. And she tells the people of Mecca that that he is actually, that Al-Ghanawi, that he's actually there, and they would all join. Allah Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. So what is the dua after then? اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه اللهم المقام المحمود الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. All right. So now with the part when we were talking about Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi, so when she says, hey, come on, but he insisted that no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had actually made this forbidden and I can't be with you anymore. But he said, I'll ask the Prophet ﷺ. When he asked the Prophet ﷺ, the ayah was revealed that a Muslim should not marry a woman that does haram things like that, in other words, she makes boyfriends and she goes out with men and all that stuff. So that's when she basically, when she sees Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi, that's when she says, you know what, I'm going to make them regret all this. So what does she do? She basically lets the people know that he's there, and then she gathers the people in order to follow and beat up Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi. He manages to slip, but this is just an idea. And the Prophet ﷺ actually praised Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi because despite all that, no, he wasn't going to give up on his identity no matter who she was. This is the grave that Ubad ibn Samit, who was actually the close friend to Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi, Ubad ibn Samit is actually buried in there. This is right close and just 2 minutes away from my home in Palestine. All right, let's continue where we were at, because we have a lot to say and a lot to cover. All right, so this is Ubad ibn Samit right there. There is another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, Man salla salatan lam yaqra fiha bi al-Quran, and فهي خداج غير تمام. هي خداج غير تمام. So there is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ actually said, whoever prays any prayer and they didn't read the Fatiha, then their prayer is incomplete. It's incomplete and incomplete, and it is not incomplete. So he was like incomplete and not incomplete. So that's basically فهي خداج هي خداج غير تمام. All right, so now we could see that part about it. And of course the Prophet ﷺ right there, you know, said صلوا كما رأيتموني أصلي. He said, pray as you see me pray. So therefore praying with the Fatiha is actually obligatory. So question, do I have to read the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim when I say the Fatiha? Majority of the scholars, yes, you do. But what if I didn't hear the Imam? Don't worry about it. Differences of opinions between scholars, but generally read the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What about the A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim? The A'udhu Billahi Min al-Isti'adha is an abbreviation for A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Just say it only in the first rak'ah, not for every rak'ah. Got it? Just for the first rak'ah if you want to, not for all the rak'at. Got it? All right. So what happens if a person didn't know how to read the Fatiha? Maybe they're deaf. Maybe they probably just couldn't read and speak Arabic. So they're reading Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. They're reading like that. Well, in that situation, we've got something for them. If they're able to read at least like that, then their salah is valid. But what if they're deaf and they couldn't? So in that situation, if they're able to read, say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, if they're able to move any of their mouth to actually say that, then that's good. But if they're not, then we would teach them what it is in understanding, and they would think about it if they're able to do it. What if this person doesn't speak Arabic and they just became Muslim right now? They just became Muslim right now. So she says, I don't even know what to say. I'll tell her, can you hold your phone and read from it? She says, I didn't even go to school. So I'll say, can you say Allahu Akbar? Yes, I can say Allahu Akbar. That's all you could say. Can you say Alhamdulillah? And I'll teach her a couple times. Alhamdulillah. Just say Alhamdulillah. When you go down, Subhanallah. Can you just do these phrases? Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah. Do these phrases at least, and with the movements. And teacher, Salah, wash face, hands, head, feet. Those are the basics. Face, hands, head, feet. Wash those. And I teach her the basics. Say Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah. You know, basically do the movements. So if she wants to do the Fatiha, but she doesn't know, just say Alhamdulillah. If you're able to do more than that, do as much as you can. All right? If you're able to say Allahu Akbar and then do ruku' and then say Allahu Akbar, then do sujood, then Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman. If you're not able to say Sami Allahu liman, you're all right. Just at least do these. But never can somebody say, well, I can't pray and therefore miss out on salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Wait, why are they doing a second adhan?
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Makes sense. Allahu Akbar.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala al-falah. Hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
All right, so let's continue. Now doing the ruku' and now with the evidence on, yes, they can do subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, is basically from this hadith in where the Prophet ﷺ actually said, أفضل الذكر بعد كلام الله بعد كلام الله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. So those are the most important dhikr, to actually do that. Now the other part is a ruku'. So to do the ruku', what is a ruku'? A ruku' basically means to bend. How much to do it? Listen, you got to focus. Sit over here. So what is a ruku'? A ruku', Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all scholars agreed that ruku' is obligatory. So you have to do ruku' for your salah. If you don't do ruku', your salah is invalid. How much of ruku' can I do? Put your hands on your knees and bend down. But here's one thing. When you do ruku', you have to make a ruku' where you're able to say, Subhanallah. And you feel something called tama'nina. What is what? Tama'nina. What does that mean? That means, think of this. If I were to throw a couple things, and it's just like your bones, when your bones are moving, if you're bending down, you feel that your bones are still in the process of moving, making sounds. So in that situation, when you're changing your posture and you're changing your body, you want to, let's say, make ruku'. You got to make sure that your body had completed a whole bending. In other words, your bones were actually settled in that form for a couple seconds at least. Standing. Don't rush. Nope. Standing. Don't rush going like that. Wait until your body is making a complete posture. So how long? Like a few seconds. Doing it in this form, doing it so fast and changing from ruku' to sujood is actually called stealing in salah. It's called stealing in salah. So what am I stealing? You're not stealing from somebody else's pocket, but you're actually, it's like you're being slick and you're trying to just change from one posture to another. And that's what Abu Qatada actually had mentioned. He said the worst of the stealing is when the person steals within their salah. And how do they steal? The Prophet ﷺ said, it's basically لا يتم ركوعها ولا سجودها. It's when they don't make a complete ruku' and a complete sujood. Maryam Ani, go ahead, my dear. What did you want to say?
Assalamu alaikum. I just had a quick question about Al-Fatiha.
Go ahead, my dear.
So when we're saying the Fatiha, I was wondering how silent are you supposed to be in the silent prayers of Dhuhr and Asr? Like when
Love it. Good question. So when you're saying the Fatiha, if it's a silent prayer, at least that you're actually hearing it yourself. But hearing it doesn't mean hearing it with your ears. It means hearing it within you. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not hearing it, I can say, I can actually make my mouth move, and I feel, even though I don't hear the sound through my ear, but I can feel what I'm saying within me because I know where I left off at. So it's up to the point of where you could hear yourself, and the person next to you not necessarily hearing you, but you can hear yourself because it's an inner thing. But you have, no, moving the lips is obligatory. Good question. You have to move your lips while you're reading, because if you are just reading and not moving your lips, you're technically not reading, but meditating. The ayah actually tells you, you have to read. The Prophet ﷺ even said, اقرأ, to read. What is al-qira'ah? Al-qira'ah is to actually move your lips while reading. Now, here is another, the other part, since we were talking about the moving and stealing from the salah. There is a Sahabi, his name is Abu Mas'ud al-Badri. Now, just a story about Abu Mas'ud al-Badri, since we got to Abu Mas'ud al-Badri. Abu Mas'ud al-Badri, he's not from those that participated in the Battle of Badr. When did the Battle of Badr happen? What year? Second year Hijrah. Listen to this. Abu Mas'ud al-Badri had a slave. He was bang, 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 hitting the slave left and right. The Prophet ﷺ says, Abu Mas'ud. But Abu Mas'ud couldn't even hear him. He was just so angry at the slave that he was just bang, bang, just hit him left and right. Then the Prophet ﷺ tells him, Abu Mas'ud, the one that created that slave is a lot stronger than you. In other words, you might think that right now you can lay your hands on that man, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of taking revenge from you. And that's a lesson where Abu Mas'ud said, I never later hit a slave whatsoever. It's not just a slave, but that's a lesson for all of us to learn. You may think you can bully somebody, but guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the one to retaliate, and it will come back to you. So you got to be really careful when you bully other people. Right, Fadwa? So there's just a lesson to learn. So let's see what he said. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said, La tujzi'u salah. No salah is complete unless you would actually stand firm and strong during your ruku' and your sujood, and you're not making it just a really fast thing. This is really important, because the second you're doing it really fast like that, your salah is going to be incomplete. Rising from the ruku' and staying strong into the point that every single vertebra is going back to where it is. You could see that this is actually mentioned of how the Prophet ﷺ actually prayed, where it was narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Abu Hurairah actually said that the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at the prayer of any man who does not actually complete his posture between ruku' or even sujood, or during the ruku' and the sujood. Let's go for more. Sujood. What is sujood? Sujood is when you actually put your head down to make the sujood right there. But you have to actually do one thing, which is to make a complete sujood in where, look at this, you guys, this is important. In where there are 7 things that must touch the ground when you do sujood. How many? 7. Good. What are they? The face and the 2 palms and the 2 knees and the 2 legs or the 2 feet. Let's do it again. Face, 2 palms, 2 knees, and 2 feet. Do it. So for the nose, is it part of the face or not? Differences of opinions between scholars. Preponderant is that the nose is actually part of the face. You don't have to squish your nose, but you want your face to actually do it right there. So that's why even the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, and where even the Prophet ﷺ was actually doing the nose as well.
قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So we'll come back, inshallah, after Salah. For the people on Zoom, I'm still going to keep it, but for the people on Facebook, you know what? Just let you know. So girls, line up, like put your legs, your feet next to your feet, your shoulders next to your shoulders. Let's go, so my dear, give her a beautiful snug, give a beautiful hug, give her a next hug. Allah Akbar. You do. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on. Hurry. Oh, what did we say? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
All right, you guys, we are back, inshallah. And it's just, where was it? Okay. So we are going to continue, guys, just for the sake of time, inshallah. We're almost done, inshallah. So for it-tashahhud, we're going to now talk about it-tashahhud. So what is it-tashahhud? It-tashahhud is basically when you are sitting down. It-tashahhud is basically when you are sitting down. التحيات لله والصلاة الطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي. This is called التشهد. Now, just attention. Now, sitting the last, you guys can stay. It's every Sunday. You guys can stay. People, yeah, you guys can stay. So the last one, remember, this the one that you do in the second rak'ah. The one that you do in the second rak'ah, if you leave that purposely, then you have to redo your salah. But if you forget it, you do sujood as-sahw. But the last one, in the last rak'ah, you have to do it. It's obligatory. All right? That the Prophet ﷺ even used to do that. And even for the man that made a mistake, in the salah, the Prophet ﷺ actually told him, فَإِذَا رَفَعْتَ رَأْسَكَ مِنْ آخِرِ سَجْدَةٍ وَقَعَدْتَ قَدْرِ التَّشَهُّدِ فَقَدْ تَمَّتْ صَلَاتُكَ. He said, if you raise your head from the last sujood, so they're sitting, here's a sujood, they raise their head from the last sujood, and they're sitting down right there, and while he's sitting down, he said, وَقَعَدْتَ قَدْرِ التَّشَهُّدِ. So you sit down for the time of tashahhud. In other words, for that tashahhud, they had to do it. What did they used to do a long time ago? Long time ago, they actually used to say, Assalamu ala Allah qabla ibadah. Peace be on God, peace be on Allah, peace be on Jibreel, peace be on Mikael. But the Prophet ﷺ said, don't say peace be on Allah, but say at-tahiyyatu lillah. All the honor, all the power, all the glory is to Allah. And that's what at-tahiyyatu lillah actually means. So it doesn't mean peace. It actually means all the honor. You see, when, for example, I say hi, What am I trying to honor? I'm trying to tell you, I notice you, I recognize you. I'm trying to give you, like I'm giving you attention, right? That's what it means. When I say you, hi, it's trying to tell you I'm giving you attention. And when, for example, somebody comes over and you give them a hug because they came over, stuff like that, that means I'm thrilled to connect with you even physically. But when you say at-tahiyyatu lillah, it's not that you're connecting with Allah, hi, peace for Allah. No, you're actually taking a moment to recognize all the honor. So the word at-tahiyyat includes all the honor is for Allah, all the glory goes to Allah, and all the power goes to Allah. Well, that's a lot to say. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you, just say at-tahiyyatu lillah, and this should include all these three elements. At-tahiyyatu lillah, all the glory, all the honor, all the power goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what else? And here's the thing, is that there's so many different du'as that were actually mentioned in how you actually say at-tahiyyatu lillah. Here's one of them. At-tahiyyatu lillah was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. There is another one, all right? There is another one and many others. But before I actually move forward, I want to explain, what does this even mean? All the glory, the power, and the honor goes to Allah Almighty. All the prayers, all the good deeds, the good words, the good actions go to the Lord Almighty. I'm sincere. Peace and blessings be upon the Prophet, but he's not even there. Well, when you say Assalamu alayna, they're not everyone's there either. So what are we saying here? You're taking a connection. When you're connecting to somebody, we might actually say, hey, greetings, hi, I'm trying to give you attention. And when you're connecting physically, giving a hug, you're giving a physical connection. But Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, this is not to say I'm connecting physically or I'm connecting in a communication with the Prophet. This is recognition. This is a recognition. What is a recognition? When I tell you, hi, what am I trying to give you? I'm trying to give you recognition. Trying to honor you. So here when you say Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, it's another way of recognizing the Prophet ﷺ by saying, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, wa rahmatullah, and the mercy of the Lord Almighty and the blessings of the Lord Almighty be upon the Prophet, peace be upon him. And may peace and blessings, what is that? Recognizing that you honor being part of the Muslim Ummah and part of the Salihin. Part of the Salihin. Why even part of the Salihin? Because the second that you consider yourself as part of any group, you become part of them. Listen up, you guys. That's why we've got these trends, and where you've got people, wanting to dress in a certain way, talk in a certain way, put necklaces in a certain way, wear shoes in a certain way, in order to announce that recognize me as part of that group. You go to the hospital, surgeons are dressed in certain scrubs, nurses are dressed in certain scrubs, doctors are dressed in certain robes, and each one is dressed in a certain way. Security is dressed in a certain way, right? Janitors are dressed in a certain way. Clothes have different reasons, but not only clothes. We're talking about an identity. It speaks of an identity. So now when you actually say, Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin, peace and blessings be upon us, and all the pious Muslims, what are you trying to say? You're trying to connect with the Salihin, that you're part of an ummah. Being part of the ummah, being part of the Salihin is taking you to recognize who you really belong as a part of. This is extremely important, because to be part of a salihin actually creates al-wala wal-bara. We talked about that yesterday, right? Were you there? It creates wala and bara. It creates a recognition. It creates a form of identity. Who are you part of? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I bear witness that there's no God worthy of worship but Allah. And Muhammad is the messenger of Allah Almighty. There are actually other ways. التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. There are many others, but they pretty much mean the exact same thing. So in the end is that in Nawawi. Who's in Nawawi? This is a great scholar, you guys, from Syria. He died young, and he was, you guys, can you imagine how he used to study? He would wake up for Fajr. Right after Fajr, he would study the Quran, he would memorize, then he would take tafsir, then he would take fiqh, then he would take sharh al-hadith, then he would take tazkiyah, then from morning till Aysha, all he's doing is studying. He did not even used to eat a lot of fruits because a lot of them he felt were getting him sleepy. So he was afraid that by getting sleepy, that might actually take away from his time in studying. He didn't want to miss any minute. In Nawawi never got married. In Nawawi was, as a Syrian scholar, hey, you're from Syria too. A Syrian scholar in Nawawi, you guys, not only was his name just mentioned here, but guess what? No other book other than the Quran has been printed as much as in Nawawi's book. Guess what that book is called? 40 Hadith. What else? Riyadh al-Salihin. Riyadh al-Salihin. No other book on the face of this planet after the Quran was printed as many times as in Nawawi's Riyadh al-Salihin. What is that supposed to be a sign of? A barakah in his sidq fil amal, the honesty in how he was so sincere in his action. He died when he was only 40 something years of age. Now you'll never forget in Nawawi, right? You'll never forget in Nawawi, right? Syrian scholar, you got to remember him. From where are you? From Syria? From Sham itself? So this guy was from Nineveh, and that's more to the southern part. What about the last thing, so we can play the Kahoot in just a bit? As-salam. What is as-salam? As-salam is not peace. No, it's as-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullah. We mentioned there is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ actually said that what salam must be in order to begin salah. In other words, what actually acts as the entrance or the key for the beginning of salah is basically purity. And what makes it the beginning and therefore sacred and basically starting within its sanctity is basically Allahu Akbar. And finally, what brings it the end is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you want to actually move your head literally to be in parallel with your shoulder. Can you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh? The wa barakatuh piece of it, differences of opinions between scholars. The part that you would agree on is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, to be on the right side. On the left side is a sunnah. All right. So the second one is actually the sunnah mustahabba. Ibn al-Mundhir actually said all the scholars have actually agreed that even if they do one taslima, that should suffice. All right, here we go. Now the coughing's coming in. Maryam, go ahead. So that'll give me a time to mute in order to cough. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. So if, let's say, you're in the middle of salah and your wudu goes away or something happens and you have to stop your salah, would you say Assalamu alaikum, or would you say something else? Because I've heard a lot of different things.
Love it. So if your wudu goes during salah, you don't necessarily have to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah in order to leave salah, because just by your wudu, just by losing your wudu, your salah is already technically gone. All right. So you don't have to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah in order to leave the salah, because right now, anyways, your salah is to be redone anyways. All right. Are we done, Maryam?
Yes,
You guys-
Jazakallah khair.
Dr. Aysha, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Go ahead.
Just one question, Dr. Aysha.
Mhm.
Regarding someone asked me that the person has actually a knee problem and knee pain, so she can stand during salah and she can also do sajda, but the problem is changing the positions. So is it okay for her to read the whole salah by sitting down, or she should do like standing and then make ruku and sajda by sitting on a chair?
So generally speaking, if she is actually having troubles with whatever she's having troubles with, do that, let's call it the substitute for it. And if you're not having trouble to do something, then don't do the substitute. So if changing from one position to another actually is problematic, so let's say you're able to do sujood, but to go from sujood to standing and so forth, that basically has a knee problem issue, then she can stay sitting down in that situation, because transitioning from position to another is actually in itself problematic in her situation. Dr. Henry, you got any other questions?
No, Jazakallah. That's it.
Allah barik fik ya Rab. You guys ready for that? Let's do it. We're going to go for the Kahoot, right? Are you guys ready? All right. You guys, it is tricky.
You say that every week, so now we kind of don't really believe that. Every Sunday you say, oh, today's tricky. So just say all of them are tricky.
All of them are tricky. All of them are tricky.
Team mode or classic?
Classic mode. You guys want a team mode or a classic mode? Classic mode? Okay. Okay. روح خد حذيفة. ليش؟ No. You want to do it, Hamza? Here. Here. Azzuddin doesn't want to play. Okay, go ahead. Here, I'll give you this. I think I can make that. Here we go. Let's do it like that. So, Duha, you know what you could do? Just put the Kahoot, like put this like that, the phone, and it would work. Okay, good. Fatuma, it's going to be tricky. Okay. I think my kids are scared.
لا بحبه. Yeah, فدوى. We're girls cheaters.
Girls cheaters? La ilaha illallah. No, don't do these names. Oh, Abdul Razak is with us too.
What are you doing? I'm taking a picture of it.
Okay. It does work.
Yeah, but you have to scan it, don't you?
Yeah, if you make it into a photo, you like activate your photo, your video, whatever photo, your camera, it would, and you scan the QR code, it would work. Look at Abdul Razak. Abdul Razak, you guys, is a kid that I used to babysit, and mashallah, Rabbi yahfadha, ya Rabbi, Rabbi yahfadha. And so is Maryam, mashallah alayhi. Ready, you guys? No? Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. عبد الرزاق كان يجي عندي أدير بالي عليه. باخدك عنده ليوم ان شاء الله. انا بقول لك تتذكر لما رحنا على الشلال لما رحنا على منيها حفظ الولد اللي كان معانا، كان الولد معانا هداك ولد لما رحنا على منيها حفظ. هداك الولد هو عبد الرزاق، تذكرته؟ اوكي تذكرك يا عبد الرزاق. There's Amy too. Lolo and Maisuma. The numbers are going up. I think we're ready, right? Your thing is blocked. Okay, we've got more. I want to see where Dr. Where's what's her name? Wait, what's her? Dr. Henna, why are you not playing? Layla Ali, why are you not playing?
Even next time, inshallah.
Come on, Dr. Henna, you're not afraid, are you?
No, I'm not.
Are you sure? I'm starting to doubt.
No, inshallah, I will do it next time.
All right. You guys, I think we're going to start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Here we go. We are starting. Who's the prophet's companion that had a girlfriend in Jahiliyyah?
Mama, don't say it.
عبادة بن الصامت, أبو مرثد الغنوي, أبو بكر الصديق, عمر بن الخطاب. It was hard to write it in English actually. عمر الخطاب, okay. أبو بكر الصديق, عبادة بن الصامت. So 16 answer. عبادة بن الصامت. It's actually Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi. Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi. Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi. Okay, let's move on. Good job, good job, good job. Let's move on. Where is this grave at?
Oh, great.
Syria,
I know.
Egypt, Afghanistan, Palestine. Where's this grave at? Where's this grave at? Oh, everybody knew where it was. Next to my school in Palestine. Maryam Al-Ani is doing great. Look at her. She's going up. Let's continue. Sorry, you guys, I forgot to say who that was. But I did mention him last week. Turjuman al-Quran. I'll give you other information. So this companion, he was young when the Prophet ﷺ died. He actually had the most knowledge in tafsir al-Quran. He was considered a sahabi that the Prophet ﷺ made the dua, Allahumma faqihu fi din. Abdullah ibn Abbas, good job. Good job. Yep, good job. So Abdullah ibn Abbas, young, the Prophet ﷺ made the dua for him, Allahumma faqihu fi din wa allimhu ta'wil. Remember this, Allahumma faqihu fi din wa allimhu ta'wil. Let's move on. The tashahhud is saying the Fatiha, saying at-tahiyyatu lillah, to become Muslim, a kind of pastry the Prophet ﷺ used to eat.
Yeah, maybe.
Pastry.
Yeah.
I'm happy that no one said it was a kind of pastry. If anybody chose a kind of pastry, khalas, ba'tazil. I will literally, that's it. I will stop teaching and I'll just stay home and cook pastries. Let's move on. that the best taslim in salah is. What is taslim? Taslim, shaking your hand with someone else at least once, raising your finger as in the picture. A kind of soup famous in Medina, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah when finishing salah.
Oh, I know it. Yeah. I do it. I do that.
Let's see, did anybody say a kind of soup? We do have somebody that said a kind of soup. That's all right. Hey. It was a mistake. I believe that they just didn't mean it. There's no way that anybody would think that. Mayar and Fadwa are in the lead. Good job. The companion who was seen by the Prophet ﷺ beating a slave, and he told him Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more powerful on you than the slave is. Was it Ubay ibn Ka'b, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abu Mas'ud al-Badri, Abu Qatada al-Ansari?
11, answer 12, 13,
Which one is it?
14.
Ubay ibn Ka'b,
Yes, you got it.
Abu Mas'ud al-Badri. By the way, the reason why he was called Abu Mas'ud al-Badri was not because he participated in the Battle of Badr, but he actually had his home next to the wells of Badr. That was where his home was. Amazing. Imagine. Ya Allah, your home was actually visited by the Malaika. Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi. Yep, we still got time. Let's move on. There's no loser. No, don't worry, you guys. You're all doing great. Mayar and Fadwa, they're still in the lead. What does at-tahiyyat mean? At-tahiyyatu lillah. At-tahiyyatu lillah. What does at-tahiyyatu lillah mean? Peace, honor, power, authority, eternity. Eternity means to live forever. Hope, a word used to describe a feeling sad. واضح انها challenger for you. Honor, power, authority, and eternity. Tahiyyat. Yeah, no one picked anything else. Good job. 5 players just hit answer streak 4. Good job. Good job. Mayar and Fadwa are in the lead. MashaAllah. Sujood requires we let how many bones touch the floor? 5 bones, 6 bones, 7 bones, 9 bones. What do we got? How many bones? Duha says 4 bones.
No, nobody.
Nobody said 4 bones. It's just. Yeah, I know. Fadwa is in the lead. Good job. Oops, what happened? Stealing during Salah means. That is a crime? Okay. Stealing during Salah means. Putting your hands in someone else's pocket while praying. Praying like a thief. Grabbing your money and praying with no focus. Making your salah in a slick way without completing all the actions.
Somebody pick the other one.
Praying like a thief. You know, I would also guess praying like a thief because, yeah.
I was kind of.
Yeah, I think that's my fault. I think both can actually be. Both can be.
Complete the actions, but
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, I still repeat.
Okay. If someone cannot read their Fatiha, oh man, look at the misspelling here. They pray. Oh, it's supposed to be they pray.
They put it in the wrong.
If someone cannot read the Fatiha, their prayer, don't pray because you don't do the simplest words. At least do the moves and say Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah. So if they can't read the Fatiha, what should they pray? The person's going to hell.
I knew that.
Let's do it again. So if the person can't read the Fatiha, So they just not pray because anyways, you don't do the simplest words. At least no one said this person's going to hell. That's it, they're doomed. Try hard and keep trying and say Fatiha, 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 Fatiha. Did anybody choose that one? Keep saying Fatiha, 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 Fatiha. I had 2 people choose that. Okay. Fatiha, 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 Fatiha. Okay. Let's. Yeah. Fatiha.
Are you in second place? Okay, we're in second place.
The first. Mayar and Fadl. She's so happy. And Lujain and Mason, awesome job. Maryam, mashallah, proud of her. Allah alaikum, mashallah alaikum. Good job, good job, good job. Good job. Wallahi, good job. How many people would rate the questions were tricky?
No, my only problem is that I don't read Bil Arabi. So when you write the names, it takes me so long to read the names Bil Arabi.
Okay.
You have to do it really fast.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
You did it. How many people thought the questions were too easy? Okay. Okay. All right, so here's what I'll do, you guys. I'll give you guys a couple minutes of a break. All right? How about 7 minutes break? Fair enough. 7-minute break. And Nish, you guys want 15 minutes? Let's do 15 minutes break. How about that? 15-minute break. 15 minutes. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, wait a minute. We'll do, since it's 15 minutes break. Yep.